That's the thing about the Cambodian experience. Yes, there is tremendous tragedy, a lot of loss, but there's also a richness of story that is yet to be revealed. As someone who comes from a family of survivors myself, the immediate reaction isn't, oh, hey, let me share my story. It's like, hey, how do I survive? How do I make it another day, with work, getting food, getting through school, not succumbing to trauma? That's the immediate response as opposed to, oh, hey, let me create some art. And really, that is the way to go, because creating art is a way to process these profound loss and tragedy and then try to create something out of it. That is the motivation I use for myself when I create. There's a heaviness and a burden. You can either sink and waste away into oblivion with this burden and with this heaviness and anxiety and pain, or you could try to create something with it and share it and in the process heal yourself and hopefully be a beacon for other people.
What's up, guys? I'm your host, Riley Miner, and welcome to the Sound of Peace podcast. The Sound of Peace podcast is a place where we'll discuss how music and the arts can heal, build trust, and connect communities who have been through challenging times. Today, our guest is Sophoan Khoeun. Sophoan was born in Battambang, Cambodia. However, he and his family left the country in the 1970s due to the Khmer Rouge. Eventually, they settled down in Chicago, Illinois, where he was a member of the Cambodian American community. After graduating college, Mr. Khoeun returned to Cambodia, where he worked to help open the National Cambodian Heritage Museum and Killing Fields Memorial, as well as exhibits within. Now he volunteers as vice president of the board of directors for the National Cambodian Heritage Museum and Killing Fields Memorial in Chicago, weaving his passion for connection, growth, and healing through music and the arts into the valuable work that he does. Sophoan, I'm so happy to have you on today. How are you doing today?
Kuntran, I'm happy to be here. I am doing very well. It is a beautiful springtime in the Midwest. The weather's getting warmer. Out and about, enjoying the sun. So things are going well. Thank you so much for asking.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, it's really good. I think we have quite the time difference here. It's what is it? Is it 8 p.m. for you right now, I think?
It is, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
close to nap time for me, or
Very
bedtime
close
for
to
me.
nap time. Yeah, I feel that. So I think today I want to discuss kind of how music and art relate to culture and the memory of culture, and why it's so important in like remembering cultural traditions, and preserving the essence of a culture. So I think to start off, I just want to ask a really general question, which is,
Mhm.
why do you think art is so central to culture and community?
Yeah, art is key. It's fundamental. Yeah, in so many different ways. It's just tied to memory. It's tied to culture. It's tied to history. It's tied to the present. It's tied to the dreams and aspirations of the future. I say you can't have one without the other. That's what makes life worthwhile. That's what brings joy. It brings connection. Um, yeah, all the above, I would say.
Yeah, and I'm curious, with your own roots in Cambodia, how what's your view on the arts in Cambodia and how those help to define the culture, or what the role that they play in the culture is?
Yeah, that's a terrific question. Also, you can tackle it in so many different ways. Um, and then also the type of music and art you're into. Uh, obviously in Cambodia, there's a rich tradition of classic music, classic art. Then you have like the golden age of Cambodian, pop music, or like the era of rock and roll in the '60s and '70s. You can talk how about how music helped the country heal and help diaspora communities, people like myself who were born in Cambodia but grew up here, and yet having feeling connection to the homeland through music and through art. Or even you talk about the evolving music scene in Cambodia. I mean, like some of the stuff that is out now is just amazing. Like there wasn't hip hop when I was growing up in Cambodia. So just some of the young artists, rappers, musicians. It's amazing, and and you can spend all day talking about any one of those facets. But this goes to show how culture, music, and art go hand in hand, and also with healing. With respect to myself, my lack of a better term, my expertise, my biggest interest has been with music in Cambodia from the 60s and 70s. Again, like what many people call the golden age. So that's kind of my jam, and that's the kind of stuff that I could probably spend more time talking about rather than any of those other areas and any of those other art forms. Um, yeah, so that's something I can like talk about for sure. So
Yeah.
I'm not a musician. I don't play in instruments. I karaoke and I sing to myself in the shower and in the car. And that's one big regret I have because I feel such a deep passion for music, and in particular Cambodian music. It's something I listen to every day. Um, and yeah, it's such a important part of my life. Just helps me to regulate. When I'm feeling down, music kind of helps boost my spirits, or when I really need to connect with feelings of sadness or vulnerability, or pain, and it's hard to to speak about it, or maybe the opportunity doesn't present itself where you have someone to call and talk to. The music is just an instant companion for experiencing these profound human feelings. And I would say, the Cambodian culture in particular, it's pretty stoic, so, being even keel, not expressing extreme feelings, whether it be anger or love or pain. Those are things that if you were just to like tell people about it, you're like, okay, well, this is I didn't ask for this. You're kind of dumping and venting on me here. However, music and art creates a space where you can actually experience it, uh, share with people, and then have the freedom, to be vulnerable, to be playful, to be angry, to be sad. All those things. That space in the day to day life is not available for most people in our community, and so having that is such an important tool for healing, for expressing, for connection, and that's why I feel so strongly about it. And it's almost universal. So I know you're a musician, so you could probably connect to music, in ways that I can't. But it would be fair to say that some songs you don't understand the whole lyrics, right? Yeah, but the energy, the vibe, no words are needed. You can feel it.
Yeah. I'm curious, and when you mentioned this, like, space, that allows for, emotional expression, uh, for you personally, what do you define that as, if you wouldn't mind, getting a little more specific?
Let's see. Well, let me take a step back. All right. So I come from a large family. I'm like the youngest boy, so the baby boy. I have a younger sister, and then I have siblings who are much older. So for example, my oldest siblings, they were teenagers during the killing fields. I was a baby, so I didn't experience anything. Um, and so growing up, there's a lot of confusion, also a lot of attention to like one of my oldest brother. He's a survivor, right? So um, you know, for him, showing emotions is very tough, right? And for a long time, we would never, we didn't really get along, right? And we didn't see eye to eye in so many different ways. However, when we're talking about Cambodian music, man, since he's a mud from the 60s and 70s, it's kind of like it's all out the window. All that tension, like we connect so much to the songs. We really hit it off and just vibe and just appreciate the artistry, the beautiful stories. Yeah, it's just an amazing experience. So that's one way in which uh, there is a common uh, thread or something that we have in common. We can connect with, despite our age differences, despite our life experience differences.
Uh,
On another level too, and I think this is very common in our community. Like if when I was living in Cambodia, and I think it still might be the case to this day, like people play music all the time, right? Like people are like blasting like the greatest hits from like the 60s and 70s, and I'm sure they're doing other things too. But it's like it's almost like uh, a therapeutic drug. Hey, this is healing. So like having that music on is just a level of comfort and assurance and connection to a place and time or a memory that was beautiful that I have instant access to. And then I would say too, like just the feelings of love, longing, romance, connecting to a loved one, homeland. So these are things that are very common in Cambodian music, right? But I would say there's probably more like sad and sentimental songs. There are upbeat, happy, frivolous songs. At least from that era. Yeah, things may have changed since then. But yeah, that's something that is so intrinsic to our experience in the culture. So I remember many times I talk to people a little bit older, and listening to that music is healing for them. They think back. So like, I have a sister who is cooking in the kitchen, and she'll have that song on blast, all the music on blast, like in repeat. So it'll be like 2-3 hours of just the hits. And what it is a way for them to relax and then just kind of decompress and connect to um, feelings of happiness that they may not have in the moment.
I can say that like music for me has also been uh, a place for emotional expression. I think that was a really good way to put it. Whether it be playing music myself or just listening to music, it's always kind of been that moment and space for me where I feel like just freedom in a way, you know? So I think 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a way
Uh,
for us to connect emotionally, to be creative, to emote. I mean, human beings, we're different from other species. Like we have a need, a driving force to create, to express, and then music is a very powerful way of doing it. Personally, I'm not, as I said, I don't play an instrument. Um, that may change in the future, but I've always, gravitated towards the visual arts. So I drew and paint, most of my life, and now I'm doing a lot more writing these days, and just having some avenue to express, to connect. uh, Human beings, we need it, regardless of where we are in life. Uh,
yeah, I'm I'm curious. Uh, Maybe this will be also off guard, but I'm curious in your visual art and your writing, how have you seen your own cultural roots in Cambodia be expressed?
It comes up all the time, all the time. I mean, a lot of my writing is me processing, personal experiences and just the stories I absorbed from family, from friends, and from living in Cambodia. So that I find a lot of my writing has deep connections to that. And I think I shared with you too during when we first met that I've written a Cambodian American jukebox musical. So it's like Mamma Mia meets City of Ghosts, meets um, shoot, I'm sorry, the last one escapes me. uh, Moulin Rouge. There we go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's my first full scale screenplay. And yeah, the story itself is about the Cambodian American experiences, the diaspora experience. However, the music that I've used and recycled, they're mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, some 90s too. Yeah, it's informed very much, by my experience as a Cambodian American refugee, as a child of killing fields, and being surrounded by families and communities of survivors. And then so yeah, it's a very central part of my artistic endeavors. The next piece I'm writing is a supernatural thriller, and takes place in pre-independence Cambodia. So yeah, a lot of my work revolves around Cambodia, the Cambodian experience and the diaspora experience. And so yeah, it's a very automatic and it's just an immediate response to my experience growing up as a child with refugees.
I think I think that's cool. The way you talk about how your culture expresses yourself, and I think the importance that plays in the role that it takes, it's just so central. And I think my time here in Cambodia, I've seen a lot of similar thoughts and similar ideas from the the Khmer people that live here, and the importance of their own culture and the art and the way that affects them and how they express themselves, et cetera, et cetera. You're 100% right when you mentioned that you walk down the street and it's music blast. It's yeah, especially in the province. But
Well, you know what? We shared this a similar experience because when I was about your age, that was the first time I went to Cambodia. I lived there for 6 months, and I feel as if your experience now it reflects so much of my own journey there. Again, uh, for me, having these vastly different societies and cultures, because yes, I was born there, but I grew up and spent 30 plus years of my life outside of the country. So my experience is very different than someone in Cambodia, or even someone's Cambodian who grew up, say, in Canada or Australia or France, right? So there are vastly different life experience, and then generational experiences too. And which goes back to what I said about music and art. That is the common thread that kind of ties us uh, all together, because there is that hunger for returning or at least understanding the homeland or connecting to the homeland in some way. Um, so when I was a younger person, coming to Cambodia for the first time and living here for a while, yeah, that musical journey was so important to me. Um, so one experience I had, I'm really grateful for, is just being able to travel around the country. So I was on a dirt bike because back then the infrastructure all around the country, like in the city you're fine, but like out in the rural areas, like the roads were really hard to navigate. So the best way to go around was on a dirt bike. So I was on a dirt bike and I traveled throughout Cambodia. So I went around Tonle Sap, up to Sting Train in the northeast, and then Svayring in the southeast. Um, and you know, uh, growing up, that music, that people play in the '60s and '70s, and even the classic stuff. It's just there. Like I would hear it. Family members would play it. We go to parties. And there's like Ram Vuong. So it's just like, okay, it's there. I know what it is, but I didn't really pay attention to it. But when I had lived in Cambodia, I started to really listen to it. I started to really pay attention to the lyrics, and it was my tour guide in so many ways. Because as I was traveling, I'll remember the song. Oh, hey, this is a Spian Otaki, Spian Otake in Battambong. Oh, hey, that's that Phnom Sampo or Phnom Dong Rai. So all these landmarks and locations that were dropped in these songs. I'm like, you know what? Let me go check it out. Let me get to that temple. Let me get to that hill. Or let me get to that river. And so I really started to pay attention to the lyrics, and just fell in love with the music. And it was such a deeply nostalgic, deeply euphoric experience. Uh, Yeah, and to this day, that's my jam. I rock out to it. I've been doing a lot of research into um, that era. I think I mentioned to you that I'm in the uh, I've listened to pretty much about 2,500 songs, like, and then I've cataloged uh, all the songs that I can find online or in books or that people share. So yeah, I've listened to over 2,500 songs, catalog each one, and for each song, I try to figure out or try to find some information on who wrote it, who composed it, who is the producer. I think back then they call it arrangement, right? But basically, it's a music producer, right? So like someone like Mate Bun or Hasalan, um, Dara. I mean, there's quite a few. New Young. So these are names that I didn't know. When I lived there, it's just like, oh, there's just beautiful music. Um, and since then, I've my understanding of the personnel and the musician behind it, it's grown so much more, and I appreciate it much more than I had growing up. Uh, um, uh, so, for example, the song "Spin Otaki Spin Otakai," it's about this bridge in Battambang, written by an amazing writer, Kung Chun, who's a household name. He's known as Ka Vai Sing Sangkai, or like the poet laureate of the Sangkai River. Yeah, so he wrote that, and it's a love story, and just knowing that he's from my family's neck of the woods, and this is about a famous landmark. It's just my appreciation of the music is just quadrupled. Having more insight on who wrote it and what it's about, and the people involved in not only singing it, but also making it turning into a record. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's epic. I think,
Like
mm,
when we're listening to like a CD or a record, whatever generation two or an MP3, well, we know like, hey, this song was written by John Lennon and Paul McCartney. That's Ringo Starr on drums, and that's George Harrison on guitar, right? So like uh, 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 in the West, we take it for granted, like that, like when something, who the personnel are. Um, for me growing up, it felt like a big missing, like, you know, the singers, since it's liberal season, Tia Pangon, Mr. Mon, Chia Savun, To Savun, etc. Right? So we only know of the people who sang, but we don't know. Well, I'd say most people don't know, who wrote the song, um, who played the guitar or the drums or the bass on it, and that was so frustrating for me, and because I would love a song so much, and it just hurt so much that I knew nothing about it other than what was on that disc, and so that's part of the driving force for me this past so many years, just to like really find out as much as I can about that record, and who the people are behind this beautiful piece of art. And my dream is to work on an encyclopedia, just talking about to show all the songs and who's behind it. Something printed would be great. I know there's a lot of super fans out there who have like their own YouTube channel or their own space where they share this information or on their Facebook page, and that's amazing. But if would it be great to have like one central resource, compiling all this info? I think that'd be great to have, and that'd be something I would love to collaborate with people on.
yeah, that's nice. That's really cool to hear that passion that you have regarding this so integral part of your culture. I think these things really do help to define, and I'm curious. I want to dive into what do you think the culture, the country, the arts sector in general around Cambodia would be like if these things were still here? Because obviously Cambodia had the Khmer Rouge, and that really just kind of wiped everything out. And so I'm curious, what do you think things would look like if we still had that information, if those musicians, all of them, not just Sin Sismut and Rosare Satia, but everyone, all the people, the drummer, the bass player, were all still here today. And if there hadn't been that giant cut in time, what do you think it would look like?
Yeah, that's the big what if question, right? What could have been, what would have been. I don't know. But it is what I'm present to is just the profound loss, the tremendous loss. And yeah, it's something that I feel deeply, and I'm sure many people feel deeply too. So much of the Cambodian experience is um, pain, loss, and obviously connected to the killing fields and the loss of life, the loss of art, the loss of so many things during that time. Yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that. I mean, it is what it is. The stuff that have been created since then by musicians and artists. I mean, they're also amazing too. But to your point, how do you replace uh, something like that, right? Right? And in many cultures, there's a continuity, right? So uh, I struggle to think of any other community where um, a single war or a single period of time, would bring the culture on to the brink of extinction. There's always been some sort of continuity, you know, where art and culture flourish, or at least there's some uh, passing of knowledge, right? So there's like a trajectory of growth in so many other culture and history. But for Cambodia, it seemed like from the 70s on, it's just like a black hole, a big chasm, and in a sense, we're still trying to uh, get back to that place. You know, uh, and people throw the term "golden age," um, and I don't entirely agree because every age is different. When you call something the golden age, it's almost like self sabotage. Oh yeah, we'll never get back to where it was. That's the glory days, and no matter how hard you try, you just can't capture the magic. So that's a bit self defeating. However, I do appreciate just the quality of work from that time. I mean, you had obviously amazing vocalists, amazing singers, but like the songwriters, the composers, the producers, everyone's just at the top of your game. So I mean, Samut had an amazing voice, obviously, but he had amazing material to work with, and amazing musicians, and amazing producers who put together awesome records. Right, right, yeah. um, so yeah, that's just one piece of it. The voice, right? So I am hardened. Like I don't follow like what's hot right now in Cambodia as much. So I'm not as cool or up to speed with it. But it is amazing to see that there is some sort of evolution and growth, and people are making new music. So it's not just doing cover versions of songs over and over again. I understand the desire to do so because it's great stuff. Right? You love the hits for a reason, but it shouldn't be um, in lieu of being able to create new stuff. I mean, the stuff that came in the 60s, 70s, that's not like traditional either. I mean, there's also a lot of experimenting with different genres, different instruments. Like I love May Bun because what he does on a lot of his records, that he'll take a folk song, but then he'll use like jazz instrumentation. So that kind of experimentation was amazing, and that's part of the reason why I appreciate that era so much. And I think that stuff is being done here too, to a certain extent, and sometimes you don't really appreciate it until you look back and see what's been produced. So today's pop stars could be tomorrow's classic heroes. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's a tough question. Yeah, there obviously is a big loss. But yeah, I think it'd be a bad idea to diminish the artists these days are trying to create something.
Mm. I like that. I mean, I think it's really important because we have that, or you have that past culture. Cambodia has that past culture, and it's so strong, it's so powerful, it's so rich and diverse. But I think it's also important to build new things and build upon that, especially with the Khmer Rouge happening, and creating that cut. How do we rebuild up off of it? Uh, you know, uh, Continuing to revere it, but not solely depend on it and just kind of uh, what's the word? Like, how do I say this? Just only look at that and dwell on that instead of going to create something new. And so that I think the new contemporary arts and new creations here in Cambodia is so important, and it's been so cool to see the different aspects of that being here in Cambodia, working with Cambodian living arts, and also seeing how the culture in the past ties into that, and this idea of maintaining reverence while also integrating it into the new art, the new films, the new music, the new paintings, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's been something just exceptionally cool to watch. What have you seen, or have you seen anything in the Cambodian American community that resonates something similar to this?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I know there's been some pieces that are out, and there's also a lot of things that I might not be aware of. So part of uh, my joy is in discovering new artists and new voices. So I've got a growing collection of books written by Cambodian or Cambodian American or Cambodian Australian people, and they're out there. I mean, there's just so many amazing artists out there who are trying to find a platform or trying to share their work. Having said that, it's just some of the highlights of people and pieces I've come across over the years. We have an amazing playwright. His name is Vichit Chum. He's based in New York City. A couple years ago, I had the pleasure to watch a play he wrote called Ball Sisters that premiered at the Steppenwolf Theater here in Chicago. Very recently, he had a new play called Queen. It's based on a YA novel he wrote. I think that premiered in Lowell not too long ago. Um, I mean, Kaylee So, another amazing artist. So she's had, I think she wrote and co-directed in the Life of Music that came out a couple years ago. So it has our very own Chorn-Pond in the film. And she had a movie came out recently called The Harvest. There's a Isaipo. There's a couple of people. Davi Chu, who I had a chance to meet a couple years ago when he visited Chicago with his wife. Um, Kind of time. And so the stuff that he is doing with his studio. A couple months ago, I saw Chiche Manu, Becoming Human. That was an amazing film. All of Ratipan's films are amazing. His documentaries and his feature films and his shorts. Tremendous work, very important work. There's a lot out there. Lung Ung has some great books, and I know she has got other projects in the works. Um, a couple years ago, I went to the Cambodian Film Festival in Long Beach. So a lot of new artists, a lot of emerging voices. That's amazing. That's amazing. So that's just what I have had the opportunity to experience. There's a whole lot of things going on in Cambodia that I'm not as well aware of, which is probably very exciting also.
Yeah, I mean, I can 100% say myself, I've seen a lot of new things, like I mentioned already, and it is very cool to watch. Uh, it makes me really happy to see, uh, especially the youth, but incoming artists just getting up on their feet and just going at it, because I think the Khmer Rouge, it really wiped out like 90% of the artists, just like almost eradicated all of it. And I think with that, just, I mean, you've just lost a lot of the heart of the culture, the arts. And so it makes me so happy to be able to see these artists now continuing to just get up and do it and continue on it, because I think I've noticed, honestly, outside of Cambodian Living Arts and a couple other smaller arts organizations, there's very little support for the arts here in all sorts of ways, and they're so critical to the culture. So critical.
I agree. I agree. Here in America, by comparison, the arts does get a lot of support and resources. Obviously, you have like an industry like Hollywood that has millions of dollars you can spend on a film, right? As opposed to thousands of dollars in other parts of the world. Yeah, so yeah, it is pretty stark. Just the uh, lack of resources and support for the arts in Cambodia and other countries that are emerging. So all the more reason to to keep at it. As a artist myself, there's a in writing or creating art, that's one skill set. But then getting it to market, getting producers, getting it funded, getting it distributed, that's another ball of wax. I mean, it's a different set of skill sets, and you're willing to have um, uh, uh, the team that can help you see it through. And so yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces. And so when I see something like Becoming Human, being made, that's a miracle. Who knows, what other stories these creators were working on that didn't get produced, they didn't get made. You know, so the stuff that you see get funded and get produced and distributed, that's just like the tip of the iceberg. So there's a uh, much more, I'm sure. I mean, that's the thing about the Cambodian experience. It's just, yes, there is tremendous tragedy, and yes, there's a lot of loss, but there's also a richness of story, and that is yet to be revealed. And then, as someone who comes from a family of survivors myself, um, the immediate reaction isn't, "Oh, hey, let me share my story." It's like, "Hey, how do I survive? How do I get how do I make it another day, with work, getting food, um, you know, uh, uh, getting through school, not succumbing to trauma, not succumbing to depression and anxiety." Yeah, so that's the immediate response, as opposed to, "Oh, hey, let me create some art." um, and and uh, and really, that is the way to go, because creating art is a way to process these profound um, loss and tragedy, and then try to create something out of it. So that is the motivation I use for myself when I create. Hey, there's a heaviness and a burden, and you can either sink and waste away into oblivion with this burden and with this heaviness and anxiety and pain, or you could try to create something with it and share it, and in the process heal yourself and hopefully be a beacon for other people.
I think that is a really powerful message about how we can use art to help connect and build each other up. Uh, I think uh, just that testament to how the Khmer Rouge really affected generations, but how art can be used to build up off that and build each other up, and like you said, that mentality of being a survivor, and how art really kind of helped with that and helped you get over that and get over the struggles that you encountered because of that. And so you mentioned that you returned back to Cambodia, and so I kind of want to know or get your experience and perspective on that survivor mentality and how you saw it affect people within the country. And I think you have a very valuable perspective coming from the Cambodian American community, and it's very unique. And I'm curious to know from that perspective what you saw in Cambodia and how you saw these things interacting with the culture and people in Cambodia when you returned the first time.
Gosh, yeah, that's another great question and lots to unravel. Yeah, this was a while ago, and I feel as if you and I have parallel lives in this sense because I am an American kid in Cambodia for the first time. I think we're both in our 20s. When we well, you're in your 20s now, but I was in my early 20s when I was there. Yeah, my I had an amazing experience, which I'm so grateful for. Um, yeah, gosh, it was. In the first couple of months, I cried a lot. uh, but what I remember so well is just how warm everyone was. Family and friends, and just this thirst for more. So part of what I did when I was living there was I taught English um, for a while at a private school and also with a nonprofit, and it's just like the level of engagement and enthusiasm that my students had for language, for knowledge, for opportunities. My people hustle, man. like, like we work hard. We put in the effort, and here in the States and in Cambodia. So that's something that I've seen consistently. Just this hunger to do better for yourself and for your family. Uh, so that was something that I really enjoyed witnessing. Um, yeah, so I would say what was a very powerful experience for me, and this is getting back to music and culture and history and learning. As I mentioned earlier, when I traveled on my dirt bike, music was my tour guide, right? And so I developed a really profound connection to music and a profound curiosity, right? Um, and uh, so one thing that I became involved in was getting to know the family of Yacinti Samut. So I met his son at the time, who was passed, who Chanchaya. I met his first wife, Yui Kai Pham Yup, and I met some of the siblings and his grandkids too. And and then I also through the documentation of Cambodia, I heard about a rumor of where he was imprisoned and then spent the last years of his life. Just going out to Koh, which is like a island prison back then. But that was just such a profound experience, just seeing that hey, this voice that we hear all the time, actually was belonged to a real human being who lived and died, um, during the killing fields with so many other people. Having the opportunity to have that experience um, was very humbling. Um,
I mean, wow, that's an unparalleled experience. Um, I think I liked what you said about, it really humanized him. And, I mean, I'm the same. Like, I hear cynicism a lot. I listen to his music on my. It's beautiful. He has a beautiful voice, beautiful musicians with him, and I mean, it's pure art. And I really like what you said about you know how that experience really made it so human, and just cleared even more that he lived and he died brutally, uh, and tragically during the Khmer Rouge, like many other people. And I know for me, sometimes when I listen to his music or Sarai City, others, but I haven't quite touched a lot of the others. But even just those two, it's I feel a deep sense of sorrow when I listen to it because it's something so beautiful that I feel was so abruptly and viciously just taken, taken away.
Yeah, and that's why it's so painful, man. It's something, and artists, it's just the beauty they put in this world, um, and then obviously any loss of life is tragic, but the fact that someone who creates and embodies such beauty can be so callously and senselessly destroyed, and then to be dishonored in such a way, um, yeah, it's devastating, um, and then there's no there's no shortcut and there's no sugarcoating it. It is a tremendous loss, and this just uh, it's a loss to their families. Obviously, it's a loss to the community, but it's just a loss to humanity, and then uh,
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, it makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. Uh, I find myself just wondering why was this taken from us? Something, these people created, you know, beauty. And what did they do wrong? Um, they did not deserve this. Why? It's devastating. It's devastating. And, you know, I guess moving forward from this, how exactly do we honor them and remember them and preserve that culture that they helped to define? How do we preserve those memories while still going forward?
another great question. Well, I like to speak a little bit about my involvement with the Cambodian Heritage Museum here in Chicago. And so while it doesn't directly preserve every single thing out there, what we do is it's just a space for the community here in the States. So we have our mission is to remember the Cambodian genocide and also to educate the community and the country at large about what happened so that we don't forget. So to that effect, we have an annual day of remembrance, April 17th, where we have moment of silence and prayers for the victims of the killing fields. And we have a permanent exhibit and a permanent memorial called the Wall of Remembrance. And so this is one way in which we acknowledge and remember what happened, and also create a space for healing. So we have a candle lighting and a vigil, and a moment of silence where we should invite people in the community. And we also, the past couple of years, have been live streaming it too, so people can participate virtually, or they can watch the recording later on. And then the reason why I bring it up is because uh, it is an act of healing, because we are remembering uh, something that's happened that has impacted so many lives in Cambodia and in diaspora communities. Um, and then beyond that, the mission of the museum is also to create a space to preserve the culture. So we have language, we have music, we have dance programs, and then language programs also available online. So for people who are interested in that in America, because in Cambodia, you speak the language, you learn the language, right? But for those growing up abroad, having access to that is important, and it's not as readily available. So I feel that having my involvement with the museum is a way for me to actively contribute to healing. Um, in a small way. So the passion I bring for Cambodian music and arts and culture, this is a unique, is a great opportunity for me to apply that passion into something that can be shared with others. And I would say Cambodian Living Arts, shout out to them. I mean, the work that An and his team been doing for decades now, it is amazing. It is amazing. It's given opportunities for masters and also emerging artists. So that kind of effort should be duplicated around the world, you know. Uh, and in some way, that's happening in many communities here in the States too. So I've had the opportunity to travel to different cities, East Coast, West Coast. Recently, I was in uh, Minneapolis, and I know that they have a Cambodian dance troupe there. So many Cambodian communities, have um, uh, at the very least, like a like a music or a dance program, either affiliated with a nonprofit, a school, or a temple. So that's one way in which diaspora communities are staying connected and trying to understand and preserve arts and culture. Um, and that's kind of effort and that's needed to heal. Um, you know, to be honest, it feels like not enough has been done, but in actuality, a lot has been done. I mean, if you think about it, we just marked 51 years since the fall of Cambodia to the Khmer Rouge. I mean, that's like barely a generation and a half. It wasn't that long ago. So the fact that we're not fully recovered and we're not um, and that we're struggling with a lot of challenges. I think that is completely understandable. You know, many
Yeah.
countries and many cultures who've experienced, war and genocide, it takes a couple of generations to fully rebound, if at all. So my love and my compassion for the community, um, I need to remind myself, and for those who are listening to, like, hey, be gracious to self, be gracious to your community, because it wasn't that long ago, folks. We are where we are. Because that's where we are, and for good reason. So if we're not, um, you know, um, successful, progressive, whatever story you have in your mind that feeds into like a sense of tragedy and defeat, let go of that, man, because the trauma is still fresh. We're still working through it. Be gracious to yourself and keep having
Mhm.
hope.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really good message in general, especially with Cambodia. You know, you can't you can't compare to everyone around because everyone around didn't go through the Khmer Rouge. And so I think the basis that Khmer Rouge brought Cambodia to, it's so low. But I've seen personally here in the country the level of growth. And I mean, you said like, you said your people hustle. I mean, that's true. I've I feel like just the work ethic. It's beyond anything I could. It's just insane. It's insane, and there's just so much strength, and so I think it's so awesome to watch after such a devastating incident in history. You guys just come right back and a lot harder than before. And so the level of growth is it's unmatched, I think. And I'm personally really excited to see where Cambodia is, especially in the art sector, in, like even a few years, but, 10, 20 years, I think, you know, and so I think that's really powerful to Cambodia, but also to, everyone in general. Um, you know, everybody has a story, I think. So you can't compare yourselves to other people because sometimes people begin from here and sometimes begin from here. And you know, we're all different and unique and we have our own diverse lives, our own diverse circumstances. And so you just never know. But, just keep working, keep trying, keep that passion and fire in your heart, whatever it is. And so I think that's a really powerful message to kind of wrap up on, honestly. This conversation has been fantastic. Very deep, I think. And I know we just talked about that message, but if you had to wrap it all into one word, if you had a message and you could only give it in one word, what would it be?
Hope. Um, that would be it. It's funny when you were speaking just a moment ago. The first song that popped in my mind is this amazing song written by Vi Ho and performed by Ban Ron. It's called Sangkum Thai Mu, which means hope one day. And yeah, it is a song about um, it's just taking a step back and appreciating that, hey, things are bad now and uh, the future's never guaranteed, but all you can do is the best you can, keep hope alive, and good things may happen. So yeah, that's something that you know, amazing song aside, it's a great message and something that I try to have in my life, which is to yeah, don't lose out hope and just keep it alive as much as you can.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Uh, I just want to thank you so much for doing this with me. I think this conversation has been really valuable and really deep, you know.
I'm so happy and grateful for the opportunity to participate, and thank you so much, Riley, for inviting me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to more conversations and to working together with you in the future. So
Yeah, I'm excited.
thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. So this was the Sound of Peace podcast, and this was Sophoan Khoeun. One vowel. I always can't get it. Sophoan Khoeun. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching, you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.